please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best. Especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer applause it draws from a so-called friend doing less. Quit playing, I'm saying, you know that you are great, and we know it, so show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. For those of you who already do the things that make us proud, your nation in appreciation says thanks to you out loud. Your schoolmates should imitate the way you tap your potential. Let me try to convince them why their effort is essential. Our men and women in uniform, before, during, and after Desert Storm, always perform above the norm, anywhere and everywhere on the planet. They need to follow our heroes' lead, but they cannot lead if they cannot read. Allow me, please, to plant this seed. Don't take freedom for granted. I'm serious, I'm furious to see U.S. schools behind. Remove the clatter, it's just a matter of our making up our minds. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. We believe in you, warriors, protect you to do what you must to rise. Please do your part. Please start before another warrior dies. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. They sacrifice for you. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Please.
Good afternoon and welcome to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now here is our host, civilian urban educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so much, DeQuay Wilson, producer, engineer, announcer, and co-host of Wave Your Grades. Very special day today in as much as it is the first Saturday in February. This is a Black History Month, and it is absolutely imperative that I begin the program with an acknowledgement of the reason for our very special guests absent this afternoon, and we are in prayer for Daryl L. Hardin's mom. And let me just tell you what a class personality he is. Recognizing that he was scheduled to be on the program, he was making every effort to take care of his mom and yet get here or at least call in by 1 o'clock. And I said to Daryl Hardin, that is way above the call of duty. We cannot thank you enough. Please take care of your mom. She is in our prayers, and we will have Daryl L. Hardin, Sea Cadet instructor with the Young Marines, on a future program. So we are beginning Black History Month on a first Saturday with our first Saturday recurring special guests, attorney Valencia Broadus, who always brings us in. And as we introduce her, Brother Louis George Walker and Sister DeQuay Wilson, we always ask Attorney Broadus, who have you brought us? And she will present her very special guests on the first Saturday in Black History Month. Attorney Valencia Broadus, thank you for being with us. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. I always laugh because you say, Attorney Broadus, who have you brought us?
Yes,
and I think
ma'am.
it's funny because you're always rapping and rhyming and everything that you do, and so you're such an excellent communicator, and so I just
I'm learning as I go from great folks like you.
You're fun. Okay, so who we have today? We have, of course, Mr. Xavier. We all know him, and we also have Miss Paris with us, and y'all know her as well. And so we're excited today, of course, because it is Black History Month, and there's so much that we talk about with Smart Money News and our financial literacy stuff, all that type of stuff, that we wanted to talk a little bit about the financial struggles sometimes of veterans, especially Black Black veterans, and wanted to just hear what other people thought about it, and also dive a little bit into some of the things that we are trying to make sure that we're spreading to our young people, but older people too, about things that we're learning about struggles our veterans are having, and kind of going back to that racial wealth gap. Anyway, so we have a lot to dig into. So they've got some information, some articles, but we're excited to be able to have the conversation today. And I know the gentleman who's a Marine won't be with us, but I think we can still have some thoughts about some things that we've read, and maybe you can please pass thoughts on or questions on to the gentleman in his absence today.
Well, let me say to you that in as much as Darrell L. Hardin was not available to be with us, I was looking up some information on military history, blacks in the military. But it occurs to me, and I'm sure to all of us, that one of the very first acknowledgments that we must make, in as much as we're talking about black military history on February 3rd, let us please acknowledge the 3 troops who were killed in Jordan. And it happens that they are now deceased black members of the military. Sergeants Jerome Rivers, Kennedy Sanders, Breonna Moffett, all from the state of Georgia, all the rank of sergeant. Kennedy Sanders and Breonna Moffett were posthumously promoted to sergeant, so that the 3 passed away and their families enjoy that rank for those 3 having been killed. So we must acknowledge them. And I want to defer to our first Saturday very special guests, and at whatever point you would like to hear some of what I looked up, inasmuch as I found out he would not be with us, a few points on black military history. So, Attorney Broadus, I'm sorry. Brother Walker, were you going to make an announcement at the beginning? Is it all right to do it now, or was that for later?
We may do it later.
Okay.
After we've talked about it, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Or, I don't know, I can do the part of the announcement now, I guess.
I want to do it in your timing, whatever you think is appropriate for the program and our guests.
We'll go with it.
We're going to go with it. All right. Attorney Valencia Broadus, Paris, Xavier. Here is Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org.
Yes, and welcome. This is KUAW Radio, which stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's global community radio station. And you can pick us up on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. You can also listen to us if you have a smart speaker on Amazon or Google. Just tell it to play KUAW. And for our audio-only listeners, we're also on Get Me Radio, the TuneIn app, My Radio Tuner, and Online Radio Box. So there are thousands of ways that you can pick us up all around the world. And we hope that you will continue to listen to KUAW Radio. And it is a partnership with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center and the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. The Black Family Technology Awareness Association offers classes in robotics, in drone flying, a Lego League. And if you want to get in touch or if you want to enroll your children in our robotics program or our drone program, go to our webpage, www.bftaa.org. And in the center of the page, you will see a link that says to enroll a student. Click on it. There's a form you can fill out. And once you fill that out, we'll get an email and someone will contact you. So remember, as you listen to things going on through the day, contact the Black Family Technology Awareness Association at www.bftaa.org. Thank you.
Thank you. That is absolutely remarkable. It is amazing how our technology continues to progress. And we don't even use the term technological gap anymore because organizations like Black Family Technology Awareness Association have brought us so close to the top of the scale when it comes to technology. Now, again, Sister Valencia brought us, how would you like us to begin? And again, I did spend some time with black military history, but let me first let you guide us as it relates to what you had in mind again.
Okay, no, thank you. So, first I want to say thank you to Brother Walker for, hold on, can you not hear me well?
Oh, I was having difficulty hearing you, but I think, Brother Walker, did you hear her just say that she wanted to thank? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, no. So thank him because one of the things we did on our last show, we had talked about how the students can definitely through the robotics class and drones and all of that, how they can get involved in these organizations, that those are going to be points that will add to their applications to get into college and universities and stuff. So thank you, because I'm going to go on and I'm going to look into that and then pass it on to their parents, because with spring break coming up, with summer coming up, we want to make sure that our young people are involved in some exciting things. And so
Yes.
we want to know now what's happening, because sometimes we wait until April, try to get our folks and stuff, and then it's too late. Everything is all booked up. So we want to make sure it's things that pertain to what they want to do, but then also, you know, getting enrolled early enough so they can have amazing summers, because that's that time. So anyway, but I do remember that Mr. Xavier and Mr. Micah both expressed, you know, some interest in learning more about the programs. So we'll look into it. So thank you, Mr. Walker, for tuning. Okay, so with that out the way, and thank you again. This is the start of Black History Month. So with, I think, everybody all over the world, especially here in the country, you know, we're seeing a lot of military and fighting things going on, you know, in different parts of the country, of the world, really. And so sometimes when we hear about these things being, like, you know, politicized, of, you know, different wars and why we won't stop people, or why the U.S. backs others, the only person that I've seen heavily as a person of color that's speaking on these issues is Mr. Austin. And Mr. Austin, as we all know, is the chief of staff under President Biden, you know, over, you know, the military efforts at the Pentagon. And so when I think about that person very, very high up and, doing well, making some great things happen, then what's everybody else doing and where are they? Because often when we see stories about the military, we often aren't seeing them show us. So they did actually show the faces. I mean, very early on, show the faces of, the three military persons that were killed over there. So to me, that was surprising. That was because they showed them really early. They highlighted that, these were our heroes that, were killed, the three young people that you mentioned from Atlanta. So I just wonder about things sometimes. So saying all that to say, what types of tributes or things happen in our communities to honor our Black veterans during Black History Month? I want to start there so that we just know what happens to honor them.
And were you offering that as a question, or did someone?
As a question for
Yes.
you, because I was going to ask the gentleman that. So I don't know if you know if things
I
are
see.
happening as we're
Okay.
honoring them as Black military people, because they're so important. They're everywhere fighting like everybody else. And
Absolutely.
how do we
Absolutely.
recognize them?
And one of the things that I think is important is for us to do a lot of our own research. It is absolutely amazing that we're living in a time when something is going on, not just called book banning, but book burning. There are a lot of historical references that are disappearing, even though our history is stellar, including Black military history. And in as much as I knew I would have to replace my guest this afternoon, I replaced him with myself. So I decided I would take a look at a few things, and I will hesitate after each in case you have questions and or comments. And please make the appropriate comment. But one thing is that as it relates to history, military leaders before emancipation did not want to put weapons in the hands of the enslaved. Now imagine that we have a history that includes participation in all of the wars, but our first introduction into being used for fighting omitted Black men, and the women, of course, were not recruited at the time, but would not allow them to carry weapons because they were afraid, of course, that if they were enslaved, they might rebel. But when blacks were allowed to fight, they would put them in the most dangerous places and give them the most dangerous assignments for the longest periods of time. And this is borne out when you look at movies like Red Tails or something like that. There is some history that is reported, documented, and then replayed. During the American Revolution, historians estimate that between 5,000 and 8,000 African-descended people participated in the revolution on the Patriot side. 20,000 served the crown. Now, it is very interesting that we were enslaved. It was very interesting that we were brought here, and yet the word patriot on the Patriot side is used to describe that those who were people of color yet fought in the American Revolution. And I wanted to take a moment with that because the term is patriot. And our campaign, which Suits for Boots, is the Academic Patriotism Campaign. The name of the book is Academic Patriotism. March 3rd will be my 82nd birthday. 82-year-old black man from the south side of Chicago who grew up with AC Dead-Eye, Pig-Eye, and Pat Louie, having the audacity to name one of my books patriotism, academic patriotism. What does a black man from the south side of Chicago who lived in a house that had been bombed have to do with patriotism? And my suggestion is, on an ongoing basis, that not only have black military personnel acquitted themselves magnificently, but it is also true that outside of the military, that any time you have a people who are fighting for their own rights, systemic racism still exists. And yet we still have the audacity to depend upon the very system that discriminates against us to alleviate the wrongs. If there has ever been a demonstration of patriotism, it must be mighty patriotic for those of us who have been discriminated against, not only to present our case, but to expect fair judgment from the very people who discriminated against us. If I look at the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his dream is tied into the American dream, I cannot think of a more patriotic demonstration of trusting the very government that keeps you down to lift us up. So when I talk about academic patriotism, I'm not only talking about it within the context of being military, but I'm talking about it within the context of those who have been discriminated against trying to make things happen in the way that they should gives us an opportunity to be the exemplars of what patriotism means when we say we are going to help you straighten out the mess that was visited upon us but not necessarily created by us. So when they fought on the patriot side, that's been a minute ago when you're talking about the Revolutionary War. To say that we trust you to treat us right when all this mess is straightened out in 2024, it's more messy than when I was born in 1942. Now, therefore, let us be patriotic enough to decide that we will show you what patriotism means rather than be anti-patriotic. So, by the way, I'm sorry, Attorney Broadus, I should have answered immediately. The question that you asked was, how indeed is Black history celebrated as it relates to the military? So, among those entities you might check on are, for instance, the American Legion Post 149, and that particular African American post has as its history a celebration of the statue in our own inner city, and I don't know what date those things will take place. Jorenna Floyd, who happens to be a member of our church at Friendship Baptist Church, is the first female commander of VFW Post 8100 in Grandview, and they also celebrate, and once again I need from them dates and places, but the post is on Main Avenue in Grandview, Missouri. From a national perspective, we will be listing events, celebrations, and special productions, television productions that celebrate blacks in the military. And here in Greater Kansas City, we will take advantage of those events and make the announcements next Saturday. I know that Brother Harden has far more information than I, so I snatched what I could, but it will be a more direct answer next Saturday. I am going to go to a point 4 If you would like. But before I do that, let me give everybody else an opportunity to talk, ask questions, or to offer what you had in mind about today.
Yes. So what I want, what you shared with us, it fits perfectly as far as the dive-in point for Mr. Xavier and Miss Paris to to share the thoughts when we think about, and you said, you know, our black military, our patriots back then, and even now, they're trusting the government, that to help them, to lift them up. The same one that holds, them down, us down, whoever. But that trust, and we've done some research, looking at the financial, status and well-being of black
Yes.
military people compared to non-military people, but also black military people compared to white military people. And we have found, just like everywhere, else in our cultures, these large disparities, that are happening. And so would love it if Xavier and Paris, if there's anything specific from our research that was really glaring that you want to share, please, of course, tell the world who you are and share a little bit of that research that you may have found. And then I'll, dive back in and out as well, and as you need me to.
Yes.
Miss Paris, we'll start with you.
There we go. Okie dokie. Well, hi, my name is Paris Holly.
Hello, hello,
I've been
hello.
on here a few times. I'm a engineer by trade, a student, a parent, all the fun stuff in life. Um, and I have done a little bit of research with this in our veterans, and it's very interesting to see, even though they're given certain information, so that they could try to be successful, whether it's financial or even to come back into society, that a lot of people aren't able to take that information. And I don't know if it's just how it's delivered to them or what the case is, but as they grow in knowledge, they have a lot of different resources that are out there, that strictly deal with the veterans and or um, active duty participants. So as they go through that process, or as I went through my study process to learn a little bit more, I noticed a lot of them still have not spoke with some financial advisor or something in that order, and a lot of them do not have the means for healthcare, um, or just some of the things that help the financial gap between our counterparts and the others. Um, so it's been a very little interesting piece of life, and I just got really nervous.
That's okay. I know there's so much information, so I'll dive in and out, with it. And Miss Pierce, I'm going to come back to you in a second because I do want you to talk about those that financial wealth gap for everybody, and then what are those six pieces that we always are saying if we all could just do one of these transactions, all of us, life could be better. And then we'll kind of bring that back to speak about with veterans, but I'll come back to you in just a moment. Thank you, because there was a lot out there because we want to just understand how do we help our veterans to, transition back into, I'll say civilization. That's not what to trans, to be civilian, to civilian life.
Absolutely.
And it's tough, but we don't really know because they don't tell us. So, Mr. Xavier, anything that you found that was particularly interesting, and then we'll talk a little bit more on those six transactional points.
Yes, ma'am. One thing that I found the most interesting, here, let me see if I can find it so I can cite it,
Thank
quote it.
you. So he's about citing y'all, researching. Xavier's fun.
That's
Great.
good.
The first thing I noticed, like right at the start of the paragraph, where it said military service is associated with more positive life outcomes and better economic prospects for Black Americans despite facing greater health risks than their civilian counterparts.
And so,
Yeah.
no, that's
Oh, yeah,
good.
no. And finds a new RAND coordination study. The fact that I found out is that even though they have like more health concerns than their Black and white civilians, like including higher rates of hypertension, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, prostate cancer, and both chronic and high impact pain. It says controversially, Black veterans have significantly lower rates of chronic pain than white veterans and lower rates of marijuana use disorder than any other group. So even they have like higher concerns. Really?
No.
Sorry, my dad.
Yes.
That's
Even though
good.
they
So
have
I'm gonna break that down a little bit, if you'll let me, because I want to start at the top where you started, which was amazing, because we always talk about, in our career club and our Smart Money News, health is wealth. So that article started out, the one that we were focusing on, talking about the challenges that African American military people have coming home, and then living well, and often still having a lot of struggles with, homelessness, transportation, different things. This article says something a little different. It says that actually, our Black military, that they do better economically than non-military, Black persons. But then it says, however, they have worse health risk. And so that takes me to, because remember, health is wealth. So if economically, I have more benefits, so to speak, it's because I have more benefits I can take advantage of. But if I don't take advantage of them, as Ms. Paris was kind of mentioning, whether it's, health benefits or education benefits, sometimes because I don't know how, not because they're not there. So the study is saying, hey, world, Black military men, they have lots of resources. Don't worry about them, because that's kind of how that article was kind of starting. But then it had to tell some truth and say, however, they really do have worse health um, conditions, high blood pressure, hypertension, all those things, even though it just said earlier that, but they are economically better and more financially well off. So that makes me think about somewhere our veterans either, and I don't know because I'm not there with, everyone, either they don't know how to access the good health care, or maybe they're not getting the education they need for maybe food and medicines or something. Maybe they don't know, or sometimes they're being denied the access. So I can only give
May I cut
the
in?
situation. Yes, please go ahead. Thank you. Because I'll talk. Help me,
So,
help me.
um, so for certain things, when it comes to the financial resources, there's a gap between the older generation and the newer generation. The older generation, they had a few more people who were in their ear who educated them on, yes, you need to purchase like a house. Yes, you need to save this much, the 401ks, to this, and that, right? And then this generation, as we do know, we're a very consumer based. And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to buy this. I want to buy this. They're not buying the things that are necessarily important for the long run unless they got that information early on. Because by the time it's time for them to get out of whatever their service may be, they didn't do that. Or if it comes to the health side, a lot of veterans had to fight extremely hard just to be able to get their benefits. There's a piece there that they won't talk about, where for this person to get 60% of their disability, 80% of their disability, 95% of their disability, they had to go they had to go through so many different hoops and craziness with the VA or whoever those entities are. I can't remember all of the names of them. Where it's just, it's a harder process. Yes, they could go to the doctor, they could go to the VA to go do this, which a lot of regular like civilians, they may not, who are black, they don't want to go to the doctor, so they look better off. But that's not 100% the case, because these people are now a lot more injured for whatever war they have fought and things like that, and they're not getting taken care of appropriately, in which they should, after putting their life on the line.
And
Mr. Boyd, go ahead. I hear you, please. Mr. Boyd.
I would like to suggest to you that one of the gentlemen who has been on is David Whalen, and David Whalen is in finance. A guest that I would like to have on with us, with your group, is Archie Welch. Now,
Yes.
Archie is a veteran, but he has been steeped in politics. I met him in 1980, so at least that long I've known him to be very involved in politics. He is an activist, and the very concerns that Paris listed and continues to list are things about which he is not only concerned, but he is integrally involved in attempting to solve the problems. But Paris, you are so right as it relates to just the personality of something called a veteran. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you say VFW headquarters, if there's going to be a VFW meeting, the expectation, we've said it more than once, is old white men smoking cigars and playing bingo at the VFW post. Now, I mentioned Jarena Floyd, the first black female post commander of a VFW post, 8100 in Grandview. There are a few young people who are involved, but they will tell you that there are recruitment efforts to get black young veterans in the American Legion, in the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And when they return, often they will go to a USO post, that is United Services Organization, to help get housing and to be guided towards medicinal benefits that too few young black veterans take advantage of, including educational opportunities and benefits. So we'll put Archie on with you at some point, and maybe Archie and Dave, to address what you have said. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Attorney Broadus, I want to come back to you, but here is DeQuay Wilson.
It's time to remind our 7th through 8th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we do say organization on purpose with purpose. Stutes for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your contents will identify a veteran at your school who can be absolutely anyone: teacher, custodian, cafeteria worker, office administrator, even a bus driver, absolutely anyone. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Waive Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. Please send your entry or inquiry to stootsforboots@gmail.com. That is stootsforboots@gmail.com, stootsforboots@gmail.com. Back to our host, Carl Boyd.
And thank you very much. Back to our very special guest partner host. Please, Attorney Broadus, go ahead.
No, thank you. So one of the things that, as Ms. Parrish, she's talked about, and Brother Archie Welch and I, we actually talked for a while, a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
at an arts tech function. He was there watching some of those young people get awards and recognized and stuff like that.
Right.
And so we talked a lot about, his efforts, and that Definitely talked about you, Mr. Boyd, because I said, well, you need to go on Mr. Boyd's radio show. He said, well, I know, Carl. I said, well, I know. He talked about Phoenix and all that. I said, I know. And you both are back. So we
Well,
were just
I
kind
would
of
I would
talking.
love for him to be on the program with you.
Yes. And so I'll follow back up because one of the things that we were talking about there at that space is, and he gave, presentation to all of us, the young people there at that event about what we can be doing to sometimes we got to step in
Yes.
and help individuals, whether it's like with a computer or like with my dad, everything he has to do to try to get his disability ratings and all of that. He not only has to go to the doctor, but now they must go into all these portals. And I think we all do. But my dad, he's not really, computer savvy like that. Go into the portals and do this, and then they send him a text message and say, "Go check into your portal" and all that. And he's like, "Who?" So a nurse
Right.
comes in weekly, but he's in Texas, and they help him to do those things and figure it out. So what if though my dad, as a veteran, he finally got his Medicaid card, and he had been denied for years, because he lives down there. I think I told another lady on the show one time he didn't need any benefits for whatever he had the job that paid everything. So then when he was losing his sight and had to get cataracts, he went to the VA, like 2 minutes
Yes.
from his house. He went there, sat down with his D4, whatever the thing is, that document, and he had a whole stack of papers. He went there to say, I'm here to enroll. And they basically told him, you're not registered, you're not an enrolled veteran. Well, he's like, of course I was. I mean, here's my papers. I was there. I served. They said, yeah, but you're not registered. We can't help you. And it ended up to where he said to the man, but no, when I lived in Missouri, I went to school and everything, on my GI Bill. And the man told him, well, maybe you should go back to Missouri then.
Wow.
And so my dad,
Come on.
he went home and basically for 2 years suffered, until I didn't know about it. Until once I found out everything, we quickly did whatever. But he's enrolled now. He's got medical. He's got everything. But that was horrible because he didn't know that, when the military persons, from my dad said, and newer, veterans that are coming back too, they don't automatically register them as veterans. There's a process they have to do. So think about if everyone, they don't know that. So when they
Right.
get out, they don't go do this paperwork so that when they come home, they're a registered veteran. Then they have to wait then to be served just because they didn't know. So you go to the doctor because you're sick, like my dad, you're not registered. And then think about that for someone who's just served and come back. I'd be madder and blah 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 blah
Absolutely.
blah.
Absolutely.
All that.
Well,
So it's
mhm.
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I have a question for Xavier. And Louis George Walker is in the room, and you don't necessarily have to come to the mic, but I would love it if you did. From this standpoint, to Xavier, for young people, Attorney Valencia brought us just suggested that this is something we need to look at. Now, here we have the president of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association talking about robotics and drones and those kinds of things being introduced to young people. And I would ask a young person, Xavier, for instance, if young people might consider having a volunteer program, having a community service program that helps elder veterans manipulate technology. It might be a 2-week program or something like that. It might be an opportunity for the young people to partner with some veterans. But Attorney Broadus, with your work with the young people, I would just like to find out from Xavier, even if it's not a passion, would it be something your age group might be willing to do?
Um, to elaborate, so you mean if there's like a volunteering service, like anywhere, right?
Yes,
That
sir.
would allow young people to come and help older veterans or people like manipulate and like learn how to use technology.
Yes,
And we
sir.
do. So yes, sir. That I do know a lot of people who actually want to like follow in and continue it with that type of activity. Um, Even if it's not an interest, a lot of people would love to do that because the best part about learning how to use something is also teaching other people how to use the
Wow.
same thing. So
Very
like
good.
with my grandma, she doesn't know how to use a phone or tablet or television. But my favorite thing to do is like break it down and like show her exactly what buttons do
Yes,
what she can
sir.
do if she like wants to see something, like all of that. That's, in my opinion, something really fun. Like learning how to use something. Like we're
Wow.
about to set up a simulation and about learn how to use a laser gun thing like targets and things like that. No, Bubba. No real guns. Oh, okay. No, no. Thank
My
you. But
goodness.
yes.
It's exciting.
And let us hear from Brother Walker what he would say to a young person. That is so encouraging. Please.
Yeah, I think that that is a good attitude to have for one, and commend you on feeling that way. And it's just like at churches, community organizations, and a lot of places that what we need to do is just organize the people, the young people, to meet with those seniors at times. I know a lot of the schools you have to get community service time in and those type of things. And I think that that would be a good process to bring some of the young people to go to the Veterans Center. The veterans people can set up a space, or even at some what do I want to say, American Legion halls or things like that.
That's right.
There's probably people right there that on a certain Saturday or a Friday evening or whatever could meet with some young people and say, we're going to have a class, and they could break down one-on-one
Yes.
to work together. So I think that this is an opportunity. There is a program called Cyber Seniors that works like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see about getting in touch with them because we've had this same conversation at our church.
Wow.
That there are a lot of people that just don't know some of those basic things that a lot of us take for granted.
Yes, sir.
And if they could get some people to come in and sit down with them, maybe weekly, and just go over, hey, what you run into last week that you didn't get, and this, that, and the other, that we can work with that. So I think this is a good place to start that conversation and start putting it into action right here in Kansas City in the community.
Praise God. And Attorney Valencia brought us, don't you love it, when somebody makes a suggestion and says, now, why don't you follow up on that?
I love it. Two things. We actually, not with veterans, but our career clubbers for years. The gentleman with Ms. Ramsey's with the magazine, her husband,
Ruth Ramsey.
when he was still with us, he actually helped with several of the senior facilities in the
There
community.
you go.
And so we would go there to their computer labs and help them. We would do Christmas caroling with our career clubbers and all that. And so that was exciting. And then we didn't have a connection with anyone after that as far as going into places to help. And so the other thing that we've just started working with MCC, I teach community health workers, and I'm doing a high school class. So we've got 10 community health workers that we're teaching, and our focus is on aging, quality aging. So teaching them to go in and do things just like this. So they'll be trained, they'll get certified, and they'll go to different places and help. So we had talked about, that's the reason I was talking to Brother Archie about how can our young people help veterans, because as with any type of, class or teaching young people all the things of how to recognize, the 10 most chronic diseases that, our aging population goes through, all that type of stuff. We can teach it all day long. We teach them, and we have a little class clinic we're creating, and I'll invite y'all to come see it. But we need to be able to, take that knowledge in order to keep those young people interested in that geriatric area, not just for veterans, but for anywhere. We need a place where people will come and let us talk and help and stuff so that they can practice. So we are very interested in doing that. And that's the reason we want to get our career kitchen going down there at the W.B. Du Bois Learning Center, because that's a space that we've been in conversations, with Miss Tamara, but that'll be a space where our young people can come and volunteer. Like we tutor now on the Saturdays with the center, like tutoring the kids, but we want to make it so that a lot of our high schoolers to do community service, they'll be able to come to our classroom down there and meet people after school and stuff, like the veterans and other, individuals who we can just help. Because if we don't teach them to help and volunteer and all that, what we're talking about, how will they know when they get older? So this is all exciting to me. Yep,
Oh,
it's
this is
exciting.
outstanding. I'd
And
like to
we'll keep
ask
talking about it. We will.
ask Sister Paris whether or not something like this, in as much as you work with young people in the way that you do so much, is this something that you have touched upon before or deserves follow-up?
So in my personal life, yes, it's something I've touched upon because I have a lot of friends who are either Marines,
Yes.
they've been in the Marines, the Navy, or the Army, and so it for the last, I say, 12 years, it's came up in conversation quite a few times, and that's where I started working with the Society of American Military Engineers. So I ended up learning even more, um, and reasons why we need to make sure that they're fought for too, because we're at an age where we are very technology savvy, but once you get older, like Miss B's father, he can't see very well, and Mr. Xavier's grandmother, she can't do certain things. They're not as tech savvy as what we are right now. How do we make those things
Yes.
accessible for them so that they could be able to do it without having this terrible piece of customer service that we're going through right now
Wow.
in this generation, and trying to have them get help to where they don't just get frustrated and leave it all the way to the side and just say forget it because they need it. So it's something I'm working on the side. I just didn't at the beginning understand how this also helped, how it related to the gap. So yeah.
Well, this is absolutely wonderful. You make me mindful of a training manual I began and did not finish called Practice Makes Profit. Those who are in public service, if they would practice just the kinds of courtesies and information giving, it would enhance their business, not take away from it. So you are already way ahead of me, and this is so good. And to do something like this, Attorney brought us, even if we had Brother Xavier to be a spokesman for us at his age, his positiveness and intelligence really are attractive to those who would follow and want to help. So this is just a positive program all the way around. We're coming to the end of the program, so let me ask Valencia and guests how you would like to close it out before we close it out.
Yes. I think that what we're talking about, an opportunity to find ways again to connect our young people to our veterans. This is another example of how we could do that. And if we can find a way before next month to maybe meet offline and make some calls and do some things, and of course get Brother Xavier and others on a call, I would love to do that, because spring break is coming up, and all the
Yes,
young
ma'am.
people, that may want, we got to organize them now. And so I think we talk about that, and fundraising, different things we'd have to do to make sure that our students they got to be able to get there, get places, have snacks, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm always interested in how we make the initiatives happen, and with Xavier saying, yeah, I'd be interested. I know
Yes.
others. We better jump on it, because he knows people. And if we don't, pull them in to help us, they'll find something else to do, which is cool too. But if he's like, this sounds good, anyway, that's my thing. Let's do it.
Outstanding. All right. Anyone else before we close? in that case, a very, very sincere thank you for the participation not only on the program but for all that you are doing and what we are talking about today. And I am mindful, just in case there is someone on the line who has relatives, I'm a civilian, and yet I'm a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary because my oldest brother was in a foreign war. So we don't all have to be members of the military to be partners with the military. And when they see this group, believe me, they are encouraged. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here is Sister DeQuay Wilson.
I'd like to thank our guests and listeners for joining us on your Students for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center right here in Kansas City, Missouri. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now, our host, Carl Boyd, will close with Carl's commentary on academic patriotism and his daily message for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
Thank you so very, very much. As a matter of fact, my Carl's commentary on academic patriotism is really based upon the conversation that we have been having. And it occurs to me that as we look at three troops who unfortunately met their demise, who are black, at the beginning of Black History Month, not only reminds us of the fact that we pay as much a price as anyone in our service, but let us also not be selfish, because that does not mean that we are not appreciative of whites and Hispanic and Native Americans and whomever it might be who make those sacrifices. And I have been known to say that I am less interested in black history than I am in fact history. And if you tell fact history, you cannot omit black history because we are an integral part of it. And so let us continue in this month, but then go way beyond. Now, to students across the USA, your Students for Boots message for this day, February 3rd. As they lead, we must read. My name is Carl Boyd for DeQuay Wilson, Louis George Walker, and the Smart Club. Thank you, gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.
Bye.